So the question that was asked that I said I would answer, well, I said you can ask questions and I would answer anything that was asked. Hello. Is I never feel anything spiritual or supernatural. I'm more logic, knowledge, and nihilism. What is that? And so that is a pretty broad question. It's so very simple but broad, because I believe someone who already admittedly is in a constant state of logic, knowledge, nihilism, that particular person who asked that question will definitely not be in a mindset, which means empty mind, open heart, to receive the answer that I'm going to give. So, and I like all of these answers that I do, I just do like simple record and share. So the last word, nihilism, means that there is basically an aversion to religion, to morality. So nihilism is like takes you out of that. So it would be the complete opposite. It's a disbelief in anything like religion or basic morality. And so the core principles of religion. And so the thing is that to say you don't feel anything spiritual or supernatural. And the reason why is because you admittedly spend a whole lot of time in your mind. But here's the thing. The mind is not you. And people have gotten so far away from spirituality that they believe that mental gymnastics is like spiritual sparring, I guess. You know, they want to throw vocabulary around. But honestly, the short answer is, let me dry my hands. Can you guys hear me with the water running? The short, I'm going to make sure I got the music turned up. Okay. So the short answer, oh, thank you. You love my necklace. The short answer is, sir, that is self-avoidance. Because you said, what is that? That was the question. What is that? That is self-avoidance. And so you have to understand that the mind is not you to know why I'm saying that. And like I said, this is where we get into the broadest part of the answer, because you are not your mind, you are not your body. You are spirit. So when you say that you don't feel anything spiritual or supernatural, it is a direct rejection of self, of what you are. Oh good, I'm glad you can hear. Thank you, Jen. So, and like I said, I don't ever edit or do anything, so I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this to someone who's very cerebral, because that's obviously the space that you're in. And I love the Einstein quote, if you can't explain what you know to a child, then you really don't know what you think you know. So this is how I'm going to put it. When we are born, when we come into the human experience, we have three parts: a mind, a body, and a soul. The Holy Trinity, right? And in that birth, in coming into the inception, everything is planned prior. You choose your parents. It's my son. You choose your parents. They don't choose you. You choose your experiences, everything. So there's absolutely nothing that has to be done. You just exist. The spirit is the ever constant, infinite, never changing observer. So anything that is changing is not even you. The body, which is a biological suit to help us exist here. That's why we have it. So we get to feel all the sensual feels of being human. And then the intellect, at the time of birth, is like a colander, right? Like you drain spaghetti from, in. And so when you're birthed, if that is left as is, spirit will run through that intellect, that clear intellect, the same way water would through a colander. But unfortunately, when you start storing programming and conditioning, thus is the birth of the ego. And the ego is the judgment mind, the one that needs everything to make sense. So the logic and the knowledge. And there is a difference between knowledge and wisdom, right? So knowledge is something acquired in the human experience. And knowledge is literally saying, oh, I know this, right? The same way, you know, like if I take Interstate 8, I can get to Phoenix from Yuma, right? So we know it. We know it either by experience, by reading it, by being told that. We start to store that, right? And that also creates impediments, by the way. And so that's the knowledge part. The logic is like, this needs to make sense, okay? But here's the thing. The ego is an impediment. And there are lots of spiritual teachers that erroneously teach that we should befriend our ego. And that's a lie. The ego is an impediment. And I love how Deepak Chopra referred to it as ego. EGO stands for edging God out. And I know, answering your question, hearing the word God probably really stroked your fur the wrong way. So all religions, right, because nihilism is the rejection of religion, all religion is based off of spirituality. But religions are very new concepts. And so the whole purpose of religion originally was to teach the spiritual practices and the spirituality and the depth of who we really are so that we could all remember who we are. But unfortunately, it became corrupt, just like everything, just like the use of energy, just like being connected to everything that is, became so grossly corrupted that it became misused. Religion is the same way. So religion became a means of hierarchy and creating separateness. Anything that separates you or sets you apart, creates a hierarchy, is corrupt. And that is all based in ego. And so being birthed with those three parts, right? Our purpose is to fully embody spirit into our human so that we can be spirit-led, right? Because when the mind is still, everything becomes spirit. So like me washing the dishes right now, totally spirit. I stay present, right? And that is the difference between someone who is ego-led and someone who is heart-led, is the inability to stay present and the unwavering presence, okay? So what happens when you are left completely alone with yourself and you're not thinking? Have you ever had that? Because that would be a question I would ask you as well. Have you ever had lucid moments like that? Because if you are, even if it's only a second, because time does not exist in spirit, you are fully embodying spirit. You cannot self-avoid. So the thinking is the self-avoidance. It is the abandonment of our own heart into the head. And so what I really feel is that there's some trauma around that. Definitely trying to reconcile the good and evil within yourself for you to actually use that word. So there's definitely something that's creating that aversion. But I will also say that the quickest way to bring yourself out of that mind is to first engage all the physical senses. So how does it look? How does it smell? How does it sound? How does it taste if you're eating? And then go one step deeper. How do I feel? And in that moment, those emotions are floating on top of spirit. So the desire or the idea that spirituality is supernatural is, oh, thank you, Jen. The idea that spirituality has to be supernatural is also trying to make it make sense, right? You are trying to create the manual. What does spirituality look like? And this is part of the corruption that's happening today. You see everybody walking around in long flowing skirts and peace, love, and sprinkles, and that's not spirituality either. Spirituality, and you have to really understand, is embodying spirit into your human for your own unique voice and purpose. When we all do that, what happens is that we start to become whole. It's the same way of doing the shadow work within yourself. When you start to integrate your own parts, the parts of you that you reject, the parts of you that you ignore, the parts of you that you want to deny, the parts of you that you loathe, when you start integrating love and into those parts, that's when you become whole. And you would never say, I don't believe in spirit, because everything is spirit. So I'll give you an example. Spirit, because you'll probably be more comfortable calling it energy. Spirit is energy. It's pure frequency. So in your truest form, you are pure frequency. Okay? I won't even use flowery words or anything that may get misconstrued in the black and white definition of it, because so many things have been bastardized. Like yesterday when I answered the other question and I said love. The definition of love has been so misconstrued. So I'm just going to say energy. We are pure, vibrating frequency. We are energy. It is a scientific rule that energy is not created nor destroyed. It has always been. Can it be transmuted? Yes. But does it still exist? Yes. That's you. That's you inside the skin. That's me inside the skin. That's everyone that's on this live inside the skin. Pure energy. Okay? And so what happens is that the ego, the impediment of the ego, creates a disturbance in that frequency. It blocks the energy. Kind of like trying to use 2 AA batteries, and instead of putting them like this, you put them like this, and then the flashlight don't work. It's the same concept. Ego does this to the batteries. instead of this, so that you actually get lit up. Okay? So that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So we are constantly looping ourselves into temporarily vibrating matter in order to get back to our original state. Sounds counterproductive, I know. I'm trying to help people to get back to that. Anyhow, this is energy. This is energy. It's dirty energy, but it won't be soon because I'll be washing them. Yes, I live in a cute little old home that doesn't have a dishwasher. So, and I actually sometimes enjoy it, not always times, sometimes. Anyhow, but I'm always present with it. So knowing that this is energy and I am energy, there is actually nothing that separates energy besides us agreeing that this is a mug and that I am Sherry, right? And so in order for us to communicate and to let go of the communication, we have to get through it, okay? So the more you understand is the most important, not knowing, not the knowledge, because you said you're in logic and knowledge. It's not the knowledge that's important, it's the understanding, because the understanding knows that this mug is actually me, that we are one. This is an ally, and that this iPod is me, and this Bose speaker is me, and the cocoa powder, because I'm going to make my son brownies because his birthday's coming and that's what he wanted, and I make bomb-ass brownies. And because I am in a human, I love decadent experiences. Being Venus ruled Taurus, which is all parts of facets of ourself, right? So when you say, I am logic, knowledge, and nihilism, what is that? So to completely buy into the idea that that's what you are, that is actually self-avoidance. Because the real self of you is that energy. It is the spirit. It is the supernatural. But when you get in your heart center and connect with it, there's probably this really minute discomfort where you retreat and go back into the head because you want everything to make sense. And in spirit, nothing has to make sense. You gotta let it all go. It's about surrender. Control is a facade, and logic is about that. I need it to make sense. If it makes sense, I'll feel as if I'm in control. If I know, if I have knowledge, then I will feel in control. And control is all about wanting to feel safe. And that's why I truly feel like the whole question, as broad as it is, it's really based in some trauma. So taking yourself completely out of the deepest experience that you could have and putting yourself into this this space where this is me. Or even, you know, we see it all the time, people who think their body is them and they spend 7 days a week in the gym, or like the women who go and filter themselves out or Botox themselves out or like go under the knife, like constant. So you have to realize that those are tools, and your reverence and gratitude for those tools, just as this, will increase when you start to embody spirit. So you would never dream of distorting those things because you want them to be just as you chose before you were born. And yes, they evolve, they change, but that's the beauty of the human experience, that it's ever evolving. There's no arrival point. So I mean, we have those people who believe that spirituality is supernatural experiences, and that's why they're abusing plant medicine. That's why they're in a constant state of self-avoiding by using mind-altering substances and calling it spirituality, and also labeling themselves woke as if it's a destination. It's not, but they are just as deeply in self-avoidance as someone who says, I am logic, knowledge, and nihilism. It's the same level of self-avoidance. So what you need to do is to be like unwaveringly present. Can you do that? And can you stay in your heart and say, okay, how does it look? How does it look right now? Look around you. How does it sound? How does it sound? How does it sound? Okay, just a little moment there. So, and how does it smell? What I actually smell is the beautiful geranium Myers dish soap, and smelling my kitchen smells from dinner, and I am feeling peaceful. I feel good. When you stay present, there's nothing to be anxious for or worried about or in a state of anything other than presence. Time traveling to the past, I should have, I could have, I would have, that's depressive. Time traveling to the future, I need to do this. This is my to-do list. This is my next stop. These are my goals. Constant goal orienting is also a constant state of anticipation. That's anxiety. If you have a hard time just feeling joy, you're not being present. Because nothing exists outside of now. So, logic, knowledge, nihilism is self-avoidance, most absolutely. And I hope that helped. Anybody else who wants me to answer questions, just DM them. I'll put it in my story again, but that's the last one of the week. I only got 3 this week, but I will answer in between my lives. I'll do these little short videos like this. I tried to make it under 10. I don't think that was under 10 because I had a little dance interlude. But does anyone have any questions since I did this one live? I will be more than happy to answer questions. Ceremony, and so that we can snack on some brownies. I do make bomb brownies. So if there are no questions, that's all, folks. Jen says, thank you for sharing. I would love to know how to deal with ego. Yeah, constantly bringing yourself into the present moment is literally the best way to chisel away at that. Honestly. So anchor yourself in your body first, right? Because you want to be in the human. That's why I say, like, spirituality is not escaping your human. You just like building a skyscraper, you have to have an unshakable foundation to go higher, right? So you have to be anchored in your human to actually ascend. So people who avoid being in the deepest human parts of themselves because it's painful, like constantly taking mind-altering substances or self-avoiding. It's because they cannot be in their human, and they're actually not as awakened as they believe themselves to be. A lot of that is ego as well. So taking yourself out of ego is about being present, right? How does it look? How does it sound? How does it smell? How does it taste? If you're eating, like, stay present with every single bite. And then take yourself into your heart and say, how do I feel? Because if I was to ask you right now, if you're being radically present, Jen, what do you need? What does Jen need? That's a good answer. No answer is an answer. So really, you should need nothing right now. Because if there is something you need, I would hope you would not be on my live. Right? So being radically present and on my live, there is absolutely nothing. Okay, you need to know where to begin your journey, and I'm gifting that to you right now. So bringing yourself into the present moment, that's the quickest way to do it, is anchoring yourself in your body by engaging all the physical senses first, and then asking yourself, how do you feel? So the emotions are also not you, but the emotions are like this oil slick that kind of floats on top of the infinite pool that is you, right? And so if you can get in touch with your emotions, the next doorway is into spirit, right? So you're saying, how do I feel? Okay. If I'm feeling sad, right? Okay, I'm feeling sad. Let yourself feel sad. Now, what's underneath the sadness? What's really underneath the sadness? Rejection. Ooh, now we're getting into the traumas. The traumas are what block the energy that is you. And traumas are stored in the physical body as cell memory. And that's literally what I was talking about doing shadow work 2 days or 3 days ago when I did that video. So if you go into like the demystifying highlight on my page, I talked about starting shadow work. That's where you can segue into that. But traumas are stored in our body as cell memory. So when the cell memory is triggered, we have two options: to go in our heart or to bypass and go into the head, the logic, the knowledge, the ego. And if you go here, you abandon yourself. That's self-avoidance. So you have to be able to sit with it in the heart, right? And when you go here, you have to be really honest with yourself. This is where integrity lives. Integrity is not removed from morality, by the way. So the fact that he said he's nihilism, he right away admitted that he's an ego and he's not in integrity. So there's so many layers to that question that he asked. And so I'm glad he asked it, because it was broad, like I said. But integrity is not removed from morality. It's actually a deep level of morality, and it's wholeness. And so we have to return to integrity in order to embody spirit into our human. And when everyone does that as unique facets, then we actually get to return to unity consciousness. So we are in the process of doing that now, of upgrading our systems, of making things right? So taking yourself into the present moment is the quickest way out of ego, and then getting into the heart, because it's what lives underneath the emotion that is actually you. And so if trauma lives under the emotion, then you have to be able to sit with that trauma and then sometimes reparent it, sometimes nurture it. Whatever didn't happen for you in the moment that trauma occurred, because that's why you stored it in your body. this is so painful right now. I'm just gonna tuck it here because I'm not receiving the support I need to actually move through this. And a child wants support out here. An adult, you should be having the support here, right? So a child is the one that's taught that. You need validation, you need this, you need this. And unfortunately, none of us get out of childhood unscathed. Like, I am a phenomenal mother. And my kids know exactly who the fuck they are. And that is because I didn't do that. But to say that they came out of that completely unscathed is a lie. There was a post, actually, was it yesterday or today? I can't remember, but it said things that toxic parents say. And I just clicked on it because I was curious, and there was like 7 slides. And I was like, ooh, that's not me. That's not me. That's not me. This one. And I was like, ooh, I felt it. And to be honest with myself, I was like, I think I did this. And it talked about like the money thing, right? And so like, who doesn't retract when they go to pump gas, right? And you're like, fuck. And you kind of buckle over like, God damn. Like, you know what? I'll go to the store once a week instead of like 3 times a week to get my produce, right? Or like both of my kids are grown, they want to borrow my car, and I'm like, how about not? You paying for my gas, you know? But that was the 4th slide, that it's a financial strain to have kids. And when you say those things in front of your kids, they can feel like a burden. And I was like, oh my God. And so I was like, oh, my poor heart. But then the other ones were just like really fucking harsh. Like, you should have never been born. You're a piece of shit. Like, they were bad. And so I gave it to my daughter. And I was like, hey, I said, can you look through these? And I said, have I ever done any of this? And she was just savage. First of all, she's a Pisces, Virgo ascendant, Scorpio moon. So she goes, yeah, this one, you do this one. Oh, yep, this one you do. And I'm like, Roselia, I am very serious right now. I wanted your serious attention. And that's what I asked for. And she's like, all right. So she put her phone down and took my phone because she had me holding it and she's swiping it. So she took my phone and yeah, see? Oh, you heard the bad ones? Oh, Jen. That's why you escaped your ego, because it's probably really intensely painful. And so she said, yeah, you do this one. It was the number 4, the finance one. And I go, ooh. And I was like, okay, so this is what it could lead to. And so she kept reading and she's like, no, I don't feel like I'm afraid to speak my needs. She goes, maybe to dad, but not to you. So I was like, okay. So see, they did grow up hearing that. And instead of, well, it said it could block them from speaking their needs because they feel like a burden. And she's like, but it doesn't do that to me with you. And I'm like, okay, good. So then I asked my son later, and he read through them. He goes, yeah, number 4. And he handed it to me. He goes, I think you do that. And he goes, but, because he read everything through, he's like, yeah, but I don't think I'm afraid to speak my needs to you. He goes, I'm always telling you what I need. I'm like, okay. So I was like, all right, I didn't have to rectify anything in that moment. But you see, that's a self-judgment, because I did come from a toxic household. So I'm like, shit, I hope I didn't impart any of that on my own kids, right? Because that could be the cell memory where we actually bypass the heart and we're being completely unconscious with something, right? Because we right away go into the cell memory, and when we bypass the heart, our perception is completely illusion. Our thoughts are illusion, our responses are illusion, our planning is illusion. So like if you were taught think before you speak, think before you act, you are acting and speaking from illusion, not truth. There is only one truth, and that's the heart. So any time that you leave here, it is self-avoidance. Oh, Jen, I'm giving you a virtual hug. I hope you feel that. I hope you feel that. But it only has one requirement: love. So when we love our kids, even the things that are out of integrity somehow right themselves, because our children are resilient out of it. So thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? I hope that helped, Jen. Thank you so much. I do feel it. Thank you. Oh, good. You feel my hug. Now let's dance, Jen. You and me. Thank you, Cindy. I love you, sister. So I'm gonna go back to washing these damn dishes, you know, so I can make them brownies for my boy, because he's gonna be 21 on Monday. My Aries, first day of Aries season. So I did make it. Both of them are adults, and they both lived. I lived. So that is huge in itself, right, y'all? Anyhow, gonna make brownies. Mwah. I love you all. Thank you for sharing your most valuable. I knew Cindy was gonna say that. Fellow Aries. Y'all are savage. So, and you're also foodies. That's why I was like, well, what do you want? Because whenever it's their birthday, we celebrate for like a whole weekend. And so he's like, brownies. First order of business, I want brownies tonight. So I'm gonna make brownies. So anyway, I love you. So thank you for sharing this time and space with me. I so